Hi, my name is Alan Kornman with Act for America. Today with us we have Mr. Geert Wilders, who will be answering some questions for us. Mr. Wilders, currently there is hate crimes legislation, H.R. 1913, going through our political process as we speak now. That hate crimes legislation is very similar to what you encountered in the Netherlands. Could you elaborate on that and how that impacted you and what we can expect here in America if that law should pass?
Well, if such a law should pass, you will go back for centuries in the United States. The 1,000 years of darkness that President Reagan spoke about will come to the United States, and I'm not exaggerating, because the hate speech laws are only used by Muslims and Muslim organizations that want to silence people who speak out and criticize their totalitarian and fascist ideology, because this is what Islam really is. Once again, I'm not speaking about Muslims. I have nothing against people, individuals or others, but the ideology is not coming to our free societies to integrate it, to assimilate, but wants to submit us, wants to dominate, and wants to shut down and shut up everybody who speaks up against their ideology and in favor of the freedom of our children, of our grandchildren, and our society. So if America indeed would vote in favor, your legislators, of a law that makes it impossible to criticize, punishable by law to criticize an ideology full of hate that wants to kill our dear freedoms, it's an enormous step back. And well, we face it in Europe every day. It's legislation like in the Netherlands, but also like Jordan. I'm prosecuted as well in Jordan because of hate speech. And well, we are not Arab countries. We should be proud of our freedom. We should be proud and able to criticize ideologies and religions. And if we don't, if we have to shut up, we lose one of the most important instruments that we have to stand up and fight against the Islamization and in favor of the freedom of our societies.
Mr. Wallace, can you please explain why America should be concerned with immigration, particularly Muslim immigration?
We have, for instance, in Holland, we have 1 million Muslims out of a population of 16 million people, whereas we had 45 Muslims a century ago. And you see that with the increase of the Muslim population, even though the majority of those Muslims are not terrorists, are not radicals, are law-abiding people, but with the growing of their sick Islamic ideology to our societies that once again give no room for anything else but Islam. I want to introduce Sharia. We have even Sharia courts in the United Kingdom today. And there are so many examples that if the amount of people from Islamic background grow from 5 to 10 to 15%, it doesn't even have to be a majority, that they start demanding that everything that is based on our Christian and Judeo culture will take another lane, and they will fight for what they see as their Islamic land, and they will once again do everything to stop us criticizing them and impose this terrible Islamic ideology on us, and get people fined or sued or jailed, like myself, who criticize them. So indeed, one of the solutions is that, unlike in the United States in your past, when I understand that many Americans were very much in favor of immigration, it brought so much good to your country, but those were most of the time people who came from countries that share your culture, that were also Christians or atheists or Jews or whatsoever. And we face now today in Europe, and you will face the same in the United States, as you already do, an influx of immigration from people from Islamic background, which is a totally different and retarded culture. And I think we should full stop the immigration of people from Muslim countries in order to stay Christian and Judeo nations as we have been and always should be. It's very important. And the message to the people who are already in our societies is that if you adhere to our values, if you adhere to our laws, if you adhere to our constitution, you are welcome to stay. But as soon as you start thinking or talking of implementing of jihad or Sharia, of you commit crimes, then we have to expel you, because you can go to Saudi Arabia, to Iran to do your nasty things, but not in our free societies.
Can you please define in the simplest of terms who our enemy is for our viewers who may not even be aware that there is a threat, an Islamic and fundamentalist Muslim threat?
But our common enemy is the Islamic ideology, and all those Muslims who adhere to that. And there are unfortunately many of them. If you don't subscribe to every part of the Quran, every part of every verse of every surah, you are seen as a renegade, as an apostate, and you need to be killed. And be aware of the concept, the Islamic concept of taqiyya. And taqiyya is a very important concept, which means that Muslims, while living under non-Muslim rule in non-Muslim countries, can deceive, can lie, are even obliged to do so. I'm not saying that every Muslim is a liar, but they can, and they are allowed to. They are allowed to say that they love democracy, whereas they don't. They are allowed to say that they are in favor of the separation of church and state and the rights of women and gays and whatsoever, while they actually don't. And if they become stronger, they will show their true face. And this is what's happening in our societies today, and we should be able to acknowledge them for what the Islam really stands for. And believe me, it is a threat. It's changing Europe. We let in the Trojan horse. I'm not exaggerating anything. I ask many US citizens and friends of mine, come to Europe. Don't only think about the stories you heard from your friends or your parents or grandparents. Europe has changed dramatically, and it has become a very nasty continent where the Islam has become stronger every day, and we are losing our freedom every day again.
Can you please explain why there is a lack of political leadership or will here in the West from our politicians regarding the Islamic threat, and why the conversation is not even beginning at the highest levels of our government?
Well, politicians are, unfortunately, most of them are weak and are cowards and are thinking of their own interest to be re-elected. So they don't want to be seen politically incorrect. They are afraid of being labeled xenophobe or racist, while people who stand up and fight for and are proud of the identity of their country and their own culture are proud people, are not xenophobes. And politicians are afraid even to use the word Islam or to use the word jihad. Many of them, at least in Europe, are also depending now on the strong Muslim vote to be re-elected. Others fear economical boycotts from countries in the Middle East. So there are personal, political, small reasons from small politicians who want to be re-elected. There is the electoral force of the Muslim vote. There is the geopolitical and the economical things that they are afraid of. And Muslims are misusing it. They know it, and the countries know it. The al-hijrah, the Islamic concept of immigration, with the use of submitting us all, is using this weakness. And we need more leaders in the West who are proud and who want to stand up and fight against this Islamization. We have too many Chamberlains. We have too many appeasers, politically correct appeasers in Europe, and we need more Churchills. We need more people like your representative Hasner here in Florida, who is a brave man who stands up and speaks out against the same issues of freedom of speech that I'm talking about now.
One final question. Can you please address the issues of Sharia law and how CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, and the Muslim Brotherhood are impacting us here in the United States?
Yes. Well, Sharia, once again, Sharia is Islamic law and goes beyond every reason. Sharia law means exactly the opposite as freedom and democracy. And we have Sharia law everywhere. We have Sharia mortgages. We have Sharia courts in the United Kingdom that, when it comes to domestic disputes and private law, are already able to work as normal courts. We have the niqabs, we have the burqas all over the streets in many Western cities like Amsterdam, like Brussels, like Paris. And once again, Sharia is Islamic law. You know, in countries where it's imposed in the world today, where the Islam is dominant, countries like Saudi Arabia, countries like the Islamic Republic of Iran, countries like Pakistan, there where people are slaughtered, where people are butchered for doing things that are very normal in our free society, speaking out against the religion, being a homosexual, being a woman who dates another man. I mean, the penalties of Sharia are stiff, are barbaric, and are inhuman, and we are importing them as we speak. And it's very important to realize that Sharia means the end of our democracy. So we should stop and fight against the influx of the Sharia in our free societies.
Mr. Wilders, thank you very much. Thank you
It's
for
my
the
pleasure.
work.
I say that I have very much respect for Act for America and Brigitte Gabriel as well. She's also now starting her organization in Europe, even in the Netherlands. And we need so much more of these grassroots organizations that defend free speech and stand up against the Islamization of our societies.
Mr. Wilders, thank you very much. Thank you
It's
for
my
the
pleasure.
work and your continued outreach and speaking to the American people. And on behalf of Act for America, I'd like to thank you very much for this
Thank you so
interview.
much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.